The Galactic Council chamber was silent. 12 species sat in their designated seats, watching the massive holographic display at the center of the room. The display showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Earth, a world most of them had forgotten existed until 3 years ago. Ambassador Junho stood alone at the human platform. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. His hands were folded behind his back as he watched 200 Halari warships enter his home system. The ships were massive. Each one was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons that could burn entire cities to ash in seconds. The Halari had conquered 17 worlds. They had never lost. Not once. Ambassador Junho said, the Drath delegate, a creature made of floating crystals that spoke through vibrations in the air. We offer our sympathies. The Halari are... efficient. Your people will be treated fairly as servants of the Dominion. Gunho did not turn around. Thank you for your concern. Perhaps you should contact your government, suggested the Morith ambassador, a gray-skinned being with 6 arms. Encourage them to surrender quickly. It will reduce the suffering. I will pass along your suggestion, Junho said. His voice was flat, empty. The council members looked at each other. They had seen this before. The denial. The hope that somehow things would be different? It never was. The Halari always won. On the holographic display, the first Halari landing ships began their descent toward Earth far below. On the surface of the blue planet, Commander Taiho stood in an underground military base. Screens covered every wall, showing the alien ships falling through the clouds like burning stars. His officers worked frantically at their stations, tracking trajectories and calculating impact zones. Yes, sir, said a young officer. We're receiving a transmission from the Halari flagship. Taiho nodded. Play it. The screen flickered, and a Halari commander appeared. The alien looked like a giant insect, with black armored skin and 4 arms ending in sharp claws. Its eyes were red and showed no emotion. Humans of Earth, the Halari said. You are now property of the Dominion. Surrender your weapons. Kneel before your masters. Resistance will be punished with death. You have 1 hour to comply. The transmission ended. The room was quiet. Every officer looked at Taiho, waiting for his response. Taiho was 53 years old. He had served in 3 wars. He had buried friends and lost family. He had seen what humans could do when they were pushed to the edge. Do not respond, he said quietly. Sir? I said, do not respond. Taiho walked to the central console and entered a code. A new screen appeared, showing a network of satellites, underground bunkers, and hidden weapons platforms spanning the entire planet. Activate Protocol Ember. The young officer's eyes went wide. Sir, Protocol Ember is? The Council doesn't know about. The Council thinks we are children playing with sticks, Taiho said. Let them think that. Activate the protocol and send word to every military commander on Earth. Tell them the same thing. What message, sir? Taiho looked at the screen, showing Halari soldiers pouring out of their landing ships, spreading across continents like a black tide. Tell them, no surrender. No retreat. Make them pay for every step. The Halari landed in 6 continents simultaneously. 300,000 soldiers armed with plasma rifles and supported by hover tanks and flying drones. They expected fear. They expected humans running and screaming and begging for mercy. In Beijing, they found empty streets and buildings rigged with explosives. In Moscow, they found soldiers waiting in the frozen forests, armed with weapons that should not exist. In Seoul, they found a woman named Minji. Captain Minji was 31 years old. She had been a school teacher before the invasion. Now she led 200 fighters through the mountains, striking Halari patrols and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The Halari could not understand it. Their scanners were designed to find enemies in space where there was nowhere to hide. But Earth was different. Earth had forests and mountains and caves and cities with 1,000 places to disappear. The humans knew every rock and every shadow. On the first night, Minji's unit destroyed a Halari supply convoy. They used fire and bullets and bombs made from farming chemicals. They took the aliens' weapons and learned how to use them within hours. The Helari commander on the ground sent a report to his flagship, resistance stronger than expected, requesting additional forces. In the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates watched these events with growing confusion. "Wow, why are they fighting?" asked the Crystal Drath. "They cannot win." "It is foolish," agreed the Morith. "They are only extending their suffering." Ambassador Junho finally turned to face them. His expression had not changed. He still looked calm, but there was something in his eyes now. Something cold. "They have all been conquered before," he said. "Your species surrendered when the odds were against you. You calculated the cost of resistance and decided it was too high." Paused. "Humans do not think that way." "What do you mean?" Ask the Treth looked back at the display, where small dots of fire were spreading across his homeworld. Human cities burning, human people dying, and human soldiers fighting back with everything they had. "We have a saying on Earth," Junho said quietly. "It is better to die on your feet than to live on your knees." You see surrender as wisdom. We see it as death of a different kind. The council fell silent. On the display, the Helari casualty count began to rise. 1,000 dead. Then 2,000. Then 5. The Helari had expected to conquer Earth in 12 days. By the end of the first week, they had lost 40,000 soldiers, and humanity was just getting started. The second week of the invasion began with fire falling from the sky. The Helari burned 3 major cities to the ground, trying to break humanity's spirit. They thought destruction would create fear. They thought fear would create surrender. They were wrong. General Suho stood in a bunker beneath the ruins of what was once a great city. Screens showed him everything happening across the planet. Every battle, every victory, every loss. He had not slept in 4 days. "Port from the European front," said his aide. The French resistance destroyed 2 Helari command centers last night. They used tunnels beneath the old city to plant explosives. Casualties, 12 of ours, 300 of theirs. Suho nodded slowly. This was how humans fought. Not in open battle where the Helari had every advantage, but in shadows. In surprise, in 1,000 small cuts that bled the enemy dry, in the Asian front, Captain Minji's unit captured a Helari officer alive. "They are bringing him to the interrogation facility now." Suho allowed himself a small smile. "Good. We need to understand how they think." Across the ocean, in the mountains of Korea, Captain Minji led her prisoner through the snow. The Helari officer was bound with chains taken from his own soldiers. His red eyes burned with hatred, but he could not break free. "You are wasting your time," the alien said. "The Dominion has conquered 17 worlds. You are nothing. Insects." Minji stopped walking and turned to face him. She was small, barely reaching the alien's chest. But there was no fear in her eyes. 17 worlds surrendered to you, she said. "Earth is different." "How? You have no fleet, no advanced weapons. You are primitive." Minji smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We are not primitive. We are patient. For thousands of years, humans have fought each other. We have learned every way to kill, every way to survive, every way to win against enemies who are bigger and stronger." She leaned closer. "You think you are predators? But you have never hunted anything that fights back." She turned and continued walking, dragging the prisoner behind her. In the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates watched these events with growing unease. The holographic display showed the Helari casualty count rising hour by hour, 60,000 dead. Then 70, then 80. "This is impossible," whispered the Morith ambassador. "The Helari have never lost this many soldiers in an entire campaign. Humans are not fighting like a military," observed the Drath delegate. "They fight like wild animals." Ambassador Junho stood at his platform, silent as always. But now there was something different about him. He stood straighter. His eyes were brighter. "We call it guerrilla warfare," he said without turning around. "It means fighting without rules, fighting to survive at any cost. Your species surrendered because you followed logic. You calculated that resistance was pointless." He finally turned to face them. Humans are not logical. We are stubborn. We are angry, and we do not know how to quit. The Halari High Commander, watching from his flagship in orbit, sent another message to his Empress. The conquest is proceeding slower than expected. The native species refuses to surrender. Their resistance is unusual. They attack at night. They hide in places we cannot scan. They turn our own weapons against us. Request permission to use orbital bombardment. The Empress's reply came quickly. Denied. Orbital bombardment destroys resources. Continue ground assault. Break their spirit. But the spirit of humanity could not be broken. In South America, farmers who had never held a weapon learned to shoot in 3 days. They ambushed Halari patrols in the jungle, then melted back into the green darkness. In Africa, tribes that had fought each other for generations united against the common enemy. They used ancient knowledge of the land to set traps that killed hundreds. In North America, factory workers converted their machines to produce weapons. Assembly lines that once made cars now made bullets and bombs. And everywhere humans shared information. They sent messages through hidden networks, telling each other what worked and what did not. When one group discovered that Halari armor had a weak point at the joints, every human on Earth knew within hours. The Halari could not understand it. Their species operated through strict hierarchy. Orders came from above, and soldiers obeyed. But humans did not need orders. They adapted on their own. They thought for themselves. Every single human was a soldier, a spy, and a scientist all at once. They are learning too fast, reported a Halari field commander. Yesterday they were using primitive weapons. Today they are using our own plasma rifles. Tomorrow they will be using our vehicles. General Suho received this intercepted transmission with satisfaction. He read it aloud to his officers. Good, he said. Let them worry. Let them fear. Came to our world thinking we were sheep waiting to be slaughtered. He looked at the screens showing human fighters across the globe. They forgot that sheep have shepherds. Shepherds carry weapons. By the end of the second week, the Halari had lost 100,000 soldiers. Their advance had stopped. In some areas, they were retreating. In the Galactic Council chamber, no one spoke. They simply watched. As the Crystal Drath, who had offered sympathy at the beginning, now stared at the display with something like terror. They invaded Earth, it whispered. They actually invaded Earth. Yes, said Ambassador Junho. They did. But the humans, they are winning. Junho looked at the display. His homeworld was burning. Millions of his people were dead, but the invaders were dying too. Dying in numbers that should have been impossible. Not yet, he said quietly. But we will. We always do. The Morith ambassador spoke in a shaking voice. What happens if they win? What happens when a species that fights like this becomes angry at the galaxy? No one had an answer. On the display, the human counterattack began. Dr. Hannah had not seen sunlight in 3 weeks. She lived in an underground laboratory, surrounded by screens and equipment and the bodies of dead Halari soldiers. Her job was simple. Find a weakness. She was a xenobiologist. Before the invasion, she had dreamed of meeting alien life. She had imagined peaceful exchanges of knowledge, shared discoveries, friendship between species. Now she cut open alien corpses and searched for ways to kill them faster. Run the audio test again, she told her assistant. The assistant pressed a button. A high-pitched sound filled the room. On the examination table, the captive Halari soldier began to shake. Its movements became uncoordinated. Its red eyes flickered wildly. Hannah watched carefully, taking notes. Stop. The sound stopped. The Halari soldier slowly returned to normal, but it looked confused, disoriented. What is happening to it? Asked the assistant. The Halari communicate through a hive network, Hannah explained. Like insects on Earth, they share thoughts, commands, strategies, but this frequency disrupts that connection. She smiled grimly. It makes them deaf to each other. Can we use this? Hannah was already reaching for her communication device. Get me General Suho now. 3 days later, human forces began deploying sonic weapons across every battlefield. The devices were simple to build. Speakers connected to generators, broadcasting the disruption. frequency in a wave that spread for kilometers. The effect was immediate and devastating. Hilari. Soldiers who had fought with perfect coordination suddenly could not communicate. They stumbled into friendly fire. They repeated commands that had already been given. They forgot their positions and wandered into ambushes. Captain Mingy used the new weapons in her most ambitious attack yet. Her unit had grown to 500 fighters. They surrounded a Hilari base in the mountains and activated the sonic disruptors at midnight. Now, she said into her radio, her soldiers attacked from all sides. The Hilari tried to organize a defense, but their commands never reached each other. Officers screamed orders that no one heard. Soldiers fired at shadows, hitting their own people as often as their enemies. By dawn, the base was taken. 4,000 Hilari soldiers were dead or captured. Mingy lost 37 fighters when General Suho received the report. He immediately shared the tactic with every commander on Earth. Within a week, human forces had pushed the Hilari back on every continent. But the real blow came from an unexpected direction. Admiral Kyung had spent his entire career in the Navy. He commanded Earth's submarine fleet, ships that traveled beneath the ocean, invisible to satellites and scanners. The Hilari had not even known they existed. The enemy fleet is in orbit, Kyung told his captains through a secure channel. They think they are safe. They think we cannot touch them. He paused. They are wrong. For 2 years, Earth's scientists had studied the remains of alien technology found drifting in space. They had learned secrets the Council did not know humans possessed. They had built weapons. Operation Black Tide is a go, Kyung said. Surface and fire on my command. Across every ocean, submarines rose from the depths. Their missiles were not ordinary weapons. They carried warheads enhanced with stolen Hilari shield-piercing technology, powerful enough to punch through starship armor. Fire, said Kyung. 100 missiles launched into the sky, leaving trails of white smoke as they climbed toward space. In the Galactic Council chamber, alarms began to sound. What is happening? Demanded the Morith ambassador. The holographic display zoomed out to show Earth's orbit. The Hilari fleet hung there, 200 ships strong. But now, there were new objects rising from the planet below. Small, fast, and climbing rapidly. They have missiles, whispered the Drath delegate. Space-capable missiles. How do they have space-capable missiles? Ambassador Junho watched silently. He already knew what was coming. The missiles struck the Hilari fleet with perfect accuracy. 17 ships exploded in balls of fire that lit up the night sky above Earth. Debris rained down through the atmosphere, burning like falling stars. On the planet's surface, humans looked up and cheered. The Hilari High Commander stared at the destruction in disbelief. His voice shook as he sent a message to his Empress. We have underestimated them severely. They have technologies we did not detect. Our fleet has suffered significant losses. The ground forces are in chaos. Request immediate reinforcements. The Empress's reply was cold. There are no reinforcements. The Dominion's other fleets are occupied. You must complete this conquest with what you have. But what he had was no longer enough. In her laboratory, Dr. Hannah continued her work. She had found one weakness. Now she searched for more. She studied Hilari blood, Hilari bones, Hilari brains. Every discovery was shared with the military. Every weakness was exploited. She worked until her eyes burned and her hands shook. She did not stop. She could not stop. Why do you work so hard? Her assistant asked one night. We are winning now. Hannah looked up from her microscope. Her face was pale and thin from weeks without proper food or sleep. Because winning is not enough, she said. We need to make sure they never come back. We need to make sure no one ever invades Earth again. She returned to her work. In the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates sat in stunned silence. The holographic display showed a planet that should have been conquered weeks ago. Instead, it showed a planet fighting back, winning. Ambassador Junho finally spoke. His voice was quiet but carried through the entire chamber. You all thought we were weak. You thought we were children? You watched the Hilari invade our home and offered us sympathy. He looked at each delegate in turn. Remember this moment. Remember what humans do when you threaten our home. Remember what we are capable of." He turned back to the display. "The Hilari made a mistake. They will not be the last to regret it." The Hilari fleet began to retreat on the 42nd day of the invasion. They gathered their surviving soldiers from the planet's surface and pulled back toward the edge of the solar system. Of 300,000 soldiers who had landed on Earth, fewer than 80,000 returned to the ships. The Hilari B High Commander gave the order to withdraw with shame burning in his chest. In all the history of the Dominion, no invasion force had ever retreated. But staying meant death. The humans had found too many ways to kill them. "Set course for the border," he commanded. "Maximum speed?" His fleet moved through the darkness of space, limping away from the small blue planet that had cost them so much. They thought they were escaping. They were wrong. Commander Taiho stood in the control room of Earth's most secret military installation. It was built inside a hollowed mountain, invisible to any scanner. On the screens before him, 12 ships powered up their engines. They were called Shadow-class destroyers. They were smaller than the Hilari warships, but they were fast, silent, designed not for defense, but for hunting. "Commander," said an officer, "the fleet is ready." Taiho nodded. He pressed a button and spoke to all 12 ships at once. "This is Commander Taiho. The Hilari came to our world and killed our people. They burned our cities and tried to make us slaves. Now they run." His voice hardened. "We will not let them run. We will follow them into the dark. We will show them and the entire galaxy what happens when you make enemies of humanity. Go, hunt. Do not stop until they beg for mercy." The Shadow-class destroyers launched from hidden facilities across the planet. They rose through the atmosphere and vanished into the blackness of space, their stealth systems making them invisible to every sensor the Hilari possessed. Pilot Yuna led the first squadron. She was 28 years old and had dreamed of flying since she was a child. She never imagined she would fly a warship chasing alien invaders through space. "Squadron 1, form up," she said through her radio. "Target the rear ships first. Hit hard, then disappear. Do not give them time to react." Her pilots acknowledged the order. 6 ships moved like ghosts through the void, approaching the fleeing Hilari fleet from behind. The first attack came without warning. A Hilari transport ship exploded, its hull torn apart by weapons it never saw coming. The Hilari fleet scattered, trying to find their attackers. They fired blindly into empty space. They hit nothing. "Where are they?" screamed the Hilari High Commander. "Find them." "We cannot detect them, Commander. Their ships do not appear on our sensors." Eunice smiled as she watched the chaos from a safe distance. "Squadron 1, second pass. Target their communications ship." The attack was over in seconds. Another Hilari ship died in fire and silence. The fleet's internal communications went dark in the Galactic Council chamber. The delegates watched this hunt with a mixture of horror and fascination. They had never seen anything like it. Conquered species did not fight back. They certainly did not chase their invaders through space. "This cannot be happening," said the Morith ambassador. "The Hilari are running. Running from humans." "Not just running," observed the Drath delegate. "Dying." Ambassador Junho stood at his platform with his arms crossed. He watched his people's ships tear through the Hilari fleet like wolves among sheep. "You invaded Earth," he said to no one in particular. "What did you expect?" The Hilari Empress sent a desperate transmission to the Galactic Council. Her image appeared on the chamber's display, her insectoid face twisted with fury and fear. "Council members, you must intervene. The humans are pursuing our fleet into open space. This is a violation of the laws of war. We demand protection." The council leader, an ancient being from a species so old they had forgotten their own name, responded slowly. "The laws are clear. We do not interfere in active conflicts. The Hilari Dominion chose to invade Earth. The consequences are yours to bear. But they are supposed to be the victims. They are supposed to surrender." Perhaps the council leader said, You should not have invaded a species that does not know how to surrender. The transmission ended. For 2 more weeks, the hunt continued. Yuna and her squadrons destroyed 37 Halari ships. They captured 12 others, taking prisoners and seizing technology. They broadcast interrogations across open channels, letting the entire galaxy hear Halari officers describing their defeats. Back on Earth, the people watched these broadcasts with fierce pride. They had been invaded. They had been burned. They had lost millions. But they had survived. More than survived. They had won. General Suho gave a speech that was broadcast to every corner of the planet. 42 days ago, the Halari came to our world. They thought we were weak. They thought we would kneel. They were wrong. His voice rose with emotion. We did not kneel. Stood. We fought. We bled. And now, we hunt them across the stars. Let every species in this galaxy know, Earth is not a world to be conquered. Earth is a world that conquers. Threaten our home, and we will follow you to the ends of the universe. We will never forgive. We will never forget. We will never stop. The Halari fleet finally crossed into their own territory with fewer than 50 ships remaining. Behind them, human destroyers stopped at the border, but not for long. Ambassador Junho requested an audience with the Galactic Council. Earth demands justice, he said. The Halari must pay for what they have done. Reparations for our dead, freedom for every species they have enslaved, and a promise that no world will ever be invaded again. The draft delegate asked the question everyone was thinking. And if the Halari refuse? Junho looked at the display, where human ships waited at the border like patient hunters. Then we cross the line, he said, and we finish what they started. The human fleet crossed into Halari space on a cold morning in December. 12 ships had grown to 50. Behind them, more were being built in shipyards that worked day and night. Earth was no longer defending. Earth was attacking. The Halari had 6 months to prepare for the invasion of their homeworld. It was not enough. Human ships appeared in Halari orbit without warning. Their stealth technology had only improved since the first battles. They struck military installations and shipyards with surgical precision, crippling the Dominion's ability to fight back. But humanity did not come to conquer. They came to liberate. On 17 worlds, the species that had been enslaved by the Halari watched as human soldiers landed. These soldiers did not burn cities or take prisoners. They broke open the slave camps. They destroyed the chains. They said the same words to every freed being they found. Earth remembers what it feels like to be attacked. We will not let it happen to anyone else. The Halari Empress watched her empire crumble. In desperation, she sent one final message to the human fleet. What do you want? Name your price. We will pay anything. Just stop. Commander Taiho received the message personally. He considered it for a long moment before responding. Unconditional surrender. Release of all slaves. Payment for every life lost on Earth, and your fleet will be reduced to defense ships only. Never again will the Halari threaten another world. The Empress had no choice. She agreed. On a station orbiting the Halari homeworld, the surrender documents were signed. Representatives from the Galactic Council watched in disbelief. The Halari Dominion, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, had fallen, and it had fallen to a species that most council members had dismissed as primitive just months before. Ambassador Junho signed the documents on behalf of Earth. His hand was steady. His face showed no emotion. But when he looked up at the defeated Halari Empress, there was something cold in his eyes. Remember this day, he said. Remember what happens when you threaten humanity? We did not want this war. We did not start it. But we finished it, turned and walked away without another word. 6 months later, the galaxy looked very different. Earth had a permanent seat on the Galactic Council's Security Directorate. Human ships patrolled the borders of former Halari territory, ensuring the peace. The 17 species that had been enslaved formed a coalition with Earth. At its center, President Day addressed the Galactic Council in the largest assembly in galactic history. Every species sent representatives. They came to hear what humanity would do with its new power. 1 year ago, Day said, the Halari invaded our world. They came to make us slaves. They failed. But we did not fight just for ourselves. We fought for everyone who has ever been conquered. Everyone who has ever been told to kneel. She paused, looking across the vast chamber. Earth does not want an empire. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want something simpler. We want peace. Real peace. Not the peace of fear where the strong crush the weak, but the peace of justice where every species is free to live without the threat of invasion. She let her words settle before continuing. To achieve this peace, Earth makes the following promises. First, any species that is invaded will have Earth's support. We will not watch from the sidelines as innocents are conquered. Second, we will share our technology with species who want to defend themselves. The days of easy conquest are over. Third, Earth will never attack a species that is not attacked first. We are not conquerors. We are protectors. The chamber was silent then. Slowly, the representatives began to react. Some with fear, some with hope, some with deep, unexpected gratitude. The Morith ambassador, whose species had surrendered to the Halari in 6 days, stood up with tears streaming from his 6 eyes. For generations, he said, my people have lived in shame. We gave up without fighting. We told ourselves it was logical. But watching humanity, watching you refuse to kneel, it showed us something we had forgotten, that some things are worth fighting for. He bowed deeply. Earth has the eternal friendship of the Morith people. Other species followed. One by one, they pledged their support, their resources, their loyalty. Not because they feared humanity, but because they respected it. In Seoul, Captain Minji stood in a plaza that had been destroyed during the invasion. It was being rebuilt now, stone by stone. She watched workers clear rubble and lay new foundations. Ambassador Junho found her there. He was older now, more tired, but there was peace in his eyes that had not been there before. It is over, he said. Minji shook her head slowly. No, it is just beginning. The galaxy knows about us now. They know what we can do. Some will fear us. Some will hate us. Some will test us. And what will we do? Minji looked up at the sky. Somewhere beyond the clouds, human ships watched over Earth. Beyond them, a galaxy waited. The same thing we have always done, she said. We will survive. We will adapt. We will protect each other. She smiled grimly. And when someone threatens our home, we will remind them why that is a very bad idea. Yunho nodded. They stood together in silence, watching the city rise from its ashes. In the Galactic Council archives, a new entry was added to the records. Species, human, planet of origin, Earth, classification, previously listed as primitive, pre-spaceflight civilization. Updated classification, major galactic power. Full member of the Galactic Council. Notes: first species in recorded history to defeat the Halari Dominion. First species to pursue and invade a conquering force. First species to liberate 17 worlds in a single campaign. Additional notes: approach with caution. Do not threaten their homeworld under any circumstances. They do not surrender. They do not forget. And they always, always fight back. The archive closed. Somewhere in the galaxy. In a dark corner where defeated empires licked their wounds, the Halari told stories to their children. Not stories of conquest anymore. Stories of warning. Never go to Earth, they said. Never threaten the humans. They look weak. They seem soft. But inside them burns a fire that never dies. They are the monsters that hunt other monsters. And in the silence of space, humanity watched the stars and waited, not for conquest. For the next time someone forgot the lesson, the Halari learned the hard way.